Hello and welcome back, I'm Shrike here with another D&D video. Today I'm going to show you how to make awesome digital battle maps in Arkenforge. Before we jump into the computer and into Arkenforge, make sure to hit the subscribe button if you want to see more content like this, and then tap the notification bell next to it if you want to be notified when I upload a video again. So last week I did an overview video of Arkenforge, which you can see from the card here or in the link in the description, and I had quite a few questions afterwards asking for details of how to do specific things within Arkenforge itself. So I thought I would do a little tutorial series so that you can be up to scratch of how to use Arkenforge. And then in today's video, we're going to go into the Cartographer. So we're going to go into how to make a really good looking map within Arkenforge. Now I will go over the basics very briefly, but it's all pretty straightforward and you can probably work it out on your own. So this video is more me giving you tips and tricks of how to make your life easier when you're making these maps. This is going to be a little mini series to teach you how to use Arkenforge as a whole. This episode is just how to use the Cartographer. A later video we will teach you how to actually present the map during gameplay and stuff like that, so make sure to subscribe if you want to see that video as well. So without further ado, let's jump into the computer and into Arkenforge. So this is the Cartographer. This is what you should be seeing on your screen as well when you log into it and go into Cartographer. Before we even start putting assets down or anything like that, there's a few things I want to go over which are little tools that you might not have realised that are even there. A really good part of Arkenforge is the community. You can get assets from community members, and if you download them, to access them you just have to click this Arkenforge here and then it loads them up. I've only got the basic stuff just because then it should be exactly how you're seeing it, but I do have these other few ones here as well. Before we actually get in with making the map itself, another thing I want to quickly show you is this button up here. If you click it, it will load different grid types. So if you're more of a hex grid type person, you can go to hex grid, or if you are a square grid person but you want it to look like this or like this, you can do that. Or if you just don't want a grid at all, you can do that as well. I prefer square full grids. You can also change the colour if black doesn't do it for you. I'm just going to keep it square, full and black. So on the right here are all of the assets that you can find. Usually you'll want to put the floor down first, or that's how I like to start anyway, so that's how we're going to start here. So we're going to go to nature, and then we're going to go to grass. I'm going to choose one of the grass types, and then you simply just click and drag it. There you go, now we've got a patch of grass on the floor. If you didn't want to click and drag it and make it a square like this, you can go down here and you could choose the brush placement option here, and in that way you can actually draw it yourself like that. And if you didn't want it to be an exact square and you want to be a triangle, for example, and go diagonally, you can choose the polygon placement down here, and then you can choose where you want it to be, and then it will just do it like a triangle like that. That tool's going to come in handy later when we talk about circular buildings and circular rooms and how to do the floor for them. When using the brush as well, you can change the softness of the brush. So what I'm going to do to demonstrate this is I'm going to go to dirt, I'm going to choose a type of dirt, and then I'm going to put one line coming away from this map. Let's do it over here, which has softness on, and then I'm going to take the softness to 0, so I'm going to take the softness off completely, and I'm going to do it again. And hopefully you can see the difference there, that these edges, if I zoom in a bit, in fact it might help, so these edges are a little bit more blurred into the surrounding area, whereas this has a very hard outline. And now we have our grassy area, we're going to go ahead and put some trees in. So you'll see that down in the bottom right here are these options again. So there's single placement where you just click it about. You can do tile placement. I guess if you wanted it to be exactly equidistant, then you could do that for trees and it would make it like that. And then you can also brush as well, so you can just move around and it will dot the trees all over the place. So here's the first tip that you might not have known about Arkenforge, but if we just place some trees down like normal, you'll see that every single tree is identical, which sometimes you don't want. But if you hold shift, you should see, if I zoom in a bit, it'll be a bit easier, that they're slightly different colours and different sizes now. So if you want to put loads of different, they're all the same tree down here, but if you want them to look slightly different, you can hold shift and dot them about and it will make them all slightly different. I'll do that with a different tree just to show you it with a different tree as well, so you can see that they're all different sizes and different shades of green, this one's a bit yellowy. Yeah, it just makes it a lot easier to very quickly put a map together, especially if you need to do it in the flight or in the actual session itself. This does also work for the brush placement tool, so if you select the brush placement and then hold down shift, it will make every single individual one random. So this can be a very easy way if you need to fill up your map quick with some trees, and yeah, it obviously doesn't look overly pretty, but it could do for a session if you need to quickly make one mid-game. So now I have selected the wall, the wood wall down here. I just want to show you another trick. So if you hold control, it will actually lock it to the grid. So you can see there that it's just going from grid placement to grid placement, and that's the easiest way to make walls which are straight without actually having to worry about keeping the line straight yourself. That can also really help when you're trying to place stuff. So for example, if I wanted a bed right in this corner, I could just click it like that and now it's right in the corner. I don't have to try to freehand it to get it just right. I can just hold control and then I can get them perfectly in the corner of the room. Well, and while we're talking about the walls, here is how you make your circular walls. So when you have your repeatable placement selected here, there's a circle placement option, and you just select where you want the center to be, and then you just pull it out, and then I'm holding the control button now, which is why it's locking, but you can not hold the control, and then you can make a circle room just like that. And now if you wanted to make a floor, you would go to your floors, which are up here, and then I'm just going to choose a cobblestone floor, and obviously if you did it with the square here, it wouldn't be exact to this room. So you go and use the polygon placement that we spoke about earlier, and then all you have to do is click around the circle. You can see it already sort of starting to fill in the middle here. And you just continue clicking. You don't want to go too far from the previous click, or you're going to end up having a bit of a gap, which I might do here. No, it looks like I've done it okay. And then when you're done, you just right click and then it fills it in, and there you go. You now have a floor for your circular room. So while you're in the area where you're picking your assets, you might notice that some of them have this little video camera up here. That's because they're actually an animated asset. So if I place that one down, it's going to take a little bit of time to load in, but when it loads in, you can already see that it is moving ever so slightly, and then when it's moved in fully, it's now animated. So when you present that to your players, it is also animated, so it looks really cool and it can be really impactful at the table. Now we're going to talk about how to manipulate an asset from changing its colour to changing its size, and you can do this with any asset in the game, but we're going to use a big bit of fire to do it. So we've got a fire here, so I'm just going to select it, and then you'll see that when you select an asset, all of these come around it. So this one here is how you'd make it bigger and smaller. So you just click it, and if you drag it up, it makes it bigger, down, it makes it smaller. We're going to make it a bit smaller than that actually. And then here is where the object manipulation is. So this is if you wanted to change its colour, you could do it here. So you can see here it says change hue. So if we were in a wizard's tower and we wanted this fire not to be the normal yellow colour, but to be a sort of greeny colour, we could go around until we see green, and then now that fire is a green colour. Also within the object manipulation, you can change the opacity, so you can make things slightly see-through if you need to. Down here you can change the saturation as well, so you can make it a bit more vibrant or a bit more dull if you need to. And in here is brightness, so you can make it dark or bright. So the brightness part of it is really good for if you've got something like a table. So let me just chuck that table down there, and then we go to brightness. But this type of wood is a bit too bright for the tavern we're going for. We're going for a seedy tavern which has a darker wood. So you go to object manipulation, and then we can put the brightness down, and now it's a darker wood, which will fit straight into your tavern. The last thing in object manipulation is this mirror option here, so you can mirror the object however which way you like. So the other things in this little ring here is rotation, so you can just click that and rotate it around as you like. You can hide things from your players, so if there's a secret you can hide it from your players, and then in the actual presenter itself you can then reveal it to the players. You can lock the tile, so for example if I scroll out, I have locked this back tile here, which means I can no longer select it. The reason you do this is so that if I wanted to select multiple things, I don't accidentally select this thing at the back here. I would select everything actually on it. So the way to unlock something is by using this padlock here. You'll then, after you click it, you will see this little red thing here, and you can click it and now it's unlocked. So I could then move it if I wanted, and then I could lock it again. It also gives you a few options up here to lock all tiles, lock all animations, lock all different areas you might want to lock everything for. So on this animation here, there is also this contextual options where you can set the frames per second to make it go a bit faster, or if you really wanted to slow it down, you could do that as well. Now to show you layering, I've put this little fluid house together. It's not very pretty, I know, but it's just so that I can show you the layering part of it. So this bed here, as you can see, if I scroll in a bit, this bed is actually over the top of the wall here, so we don't really want that. It doesn't look very good, and down here as well as over the wall. So you could go to layering, and then you could move it to bottom, and now it fits under the wall, so I can move it wherever I want, and it's not going to actually be on top of the wall. There are other options here as well, including just moving it up or down one layer. This one here is that you can move it down one level or up one level, and on the right here you'll see that there are different levels. So if you have a building, you can have the ground floor, first floor, second floor, third floor, you can have a basement floor, and you can actually click here to go to them. So I've just gone down to -1 here, which there's nothing on at the moment, which is why it's completely blank. But if I wanted this bed down to -1, I could just click this button here, and then that moves that asset down to number 1. I'm going to move it back up though. Now one part which really stands out for Arkenforge is its lighting system. It makes it really cool when you actually use it in the game, and you can change the lighting on the fly and stuff like torches, give a shadow and bits like that. So let's talk about how to do that. So as you can see, I have added a flame here, and then down here there is a lighting option, which if you click, there's this bulb icon here, and if you toggle that, this will now emit light. So if I move it around, you'll see that it will emit light. And then on this little panel here, you can see there's lighting, and you can change the time of day. So I'm gonna make it nighttime just so you can see it better. And then as you can see, the light isn't actually going through the walls here or through the door. So I can move this around and it's not gonna go through the walls. So now I'm going to put this pillar down here, which is also going to block the light, so you can see there is now a shadow behind it, and then if I select this and move it around, you'll see that the shadow moves with it. So stuff like walls and pillars will block the shadow, but you can see here that this chair that I've put down isn't blocking the shadow at all. So what you can do if you want an object that doesn't block the shadow to block the shadow is you go to lighting, and then you go to toggle shadows, and now that is blocking the light. So if I move this around, it will shadow with the asset. There is another way to put a barrier for the light if you need to. You can go to the lighting here again and then place barriers. Once you click that, you can then click and drag, and it will make this little red line, and then you can click again and it will make that a barrier. And if I click and drag this, you will now see that this barrier leaves a shadow behind it. So if you ever need a barrier which isn't actually an asset for any reason, you can do that just there. Other things you can do with the lighting is if I click here and go back into lighting, you can set the radius here, so I could put that to 10. Now as you can see, it's a lot brighter. If I zoom out in fact and I put it outside this house, you'll be able to see just how far it reaches, especially if I put it back down to 5. Or you could put it right down to 1 and have a little glow around it. You can also, from within the lighting area, set the colour, so it gives you the little grid here, and then you can set the colour to different colours, which is really good if you're in a wizard's tower or a place of magic. You can pick a different glow. And then the last thing I'm going to show you about the lighting involves telling you a bit about Fog of War. So if we go back to daytime again, and then if down here you can see there's the DM tools, you can turn on Fog of War. And then when the Fog of War is on, you can choose your brush type, so you can have it square or circle, and your function, which I'm going to use as erase, and then I can erase the Fog of War here. So there's the Fog of War function. I'm going to go into much more depth of that in the next video, which is going to be about how to actually present this map to your players. But in this video I am still going to teach you all about dynamic fog. So if you select dynamic fog, fog, and then you also select this fire, you can go into lighting again, and then you can do light through fog of war. And although this just looks like light, it is actually lighting through the fog of war, so if the players were viewing this, they would just be able to see this radius around the fire here. As I said, I'm going to go into more detail in that and show you actually what it looks like live in a future video, which is going to be about when you present the maps. In a future video, we're also going to be talking about the campaign management side of this, but I'll just show you where it is. So in the DM tools here, you can search for links, and then this is where you can actually add notes to the map. But we'll go into that into more detail in another video. So the last thing I'm going to show you how to do is if you have an asset like this purple flame here and you want to make more of it, there are two ways to go about it. So the first way is when you have it selected, you can click Ctrl and D and it will duplicate it. And now I have another one over here. And then you can just keep on doing that for as many as you like. But the other way, and sometimes a quicker way, is by using this eyedropper tool here. So if you select that and then you select the asset, it actually puts that as your paintbrush, so you can just go and click it around all over the place. So that is pretty much everything I want to show you in the Cartographer itself. If you have any questions about any of that, just put it in the comments, or if there's anything you want more detail on, just let me know and I'll make sure to answer every single comment. Just to show you what sort of thing you can actually make with this Cartographer, I'm going to jump back into the computer and I'm going to show you the ground floor level of Castle Ravenloft that I made. Before I do that though, this is 100% going to be a spoiler. If you are going to be a player in Curse of Strahd, at any point do not look any further because you will probably see some secrets. So here we are in the first level of Castle Ravenloft. As you can see, I quite like putting black around it when I do buildings like this. I just think it makes it much easier for me to work out exactly where the building is, and I think it just looks a bit better. So this is the entranceway just here. I haven't put any fire in because when my players came into this area, all of the flames were put out, so I have deleted them and I just haven't put them back since. The first thing that you probably notice, which is quite strange, is these numbers here. I hide them from the players, and then when the players go into that area, I know which area of the book to look in and read whatever's in there. So I'm just going to go into the dining room here just to show you the sort of layering and how that can work. So there are multiple layers here. So there's the chair, well, I guess there's the floor level first, and then above that there's the chair, and then the table is above that in layers, so that's why it looks like the chairs are sitting under the table. And then there's these plates here, and then on these plates I've put the meats on top of it. These are actually community assets, they're not in the base pack, but it's quite easy to go and get the community assets, and if you want to know how, just put in the comments and I can make a video about that as well. One thing that was quite funny when I was making this is I could not find a piano asset. So this is supposed to be an organ here, but I couldn't find one, so I just made it a fireplace. So I've just put the fog of war on and the dynamic fog of war, and I've made this light go through fog of war just so that I can show you that behind here there is a secret corridor, but by using the dynamic lighting the players can't see the corridor. The reason I say that is because if you were to use the erase brush, the square, you have to sort of very carefully trace around here, because if you accidentally run like that, the players might see that there was a corridor there, and then they might investigate more, trying to find a way. But if you use dynamic fog, you make sure that that problem doesn't happen. If we also go to these stairwells here, you can see that this one looks like it's going down and this one looks like it's going up. There's no sort of tool to do that, but how I've done that is I've just made this one lighter. So by using the object manipulation, I've put the brightness up a bit, and then this one here, I've used the object manipulation and I've put the brightness down a bit, and then it just gives it the illusion that is descending and then that is ascending. Now there is actually a mistake on this map. I made a mistake and realised mid-game that I'd made a mistake. If you can notice the mistake, make sure to put it in the comments. So there you have it. Now you should be able to use Arkenforge Cartographer with great proficiency, and you've seen how I've actually used it in a real game. As I've already said, there will be more videos coming out about Arkenforge. The next one's going to be how to actually use it in game, so how to use this map in a game to present to your players, and how I, as a DM, would use it to control stuff on the fly. If you have any questions at all, please do put them in the comments. I'll be more than willing to help you out, so just let me know. So if you do want to see those videos coming up, make sure to hit the subscribe button and then the notification bell and you'll be notified. But until next time, happy gaming!